My name is Ethan Cossio. I broke into the gaming industry 3 years ago doing level design, business development, video editing. Although technically business development happened this July. Those are the three niches I'm pursuing. Starting out as a creative and trying to go into business with a creative mindset, trying to keep a balance of both business and creative stuff in the industry.
So how did you arrive at this? So you say you was a creative before this. So like, what were you doing before to where before you got down the path of level design and stuff like that?
To be frank, it's been kind of an aimless drift, not knowing what I wanted to do. Since I started playing video games, I think when I was 5 years old or something, I wanted to work in the industry as a designer. I just haven't pursued that until 20 years later in grad school because nothing else is going for me. So I figured, why not? How could it get worse? I think that was a good step. And then a year after I graduated, I did get my first contract with a mobile gaming company as a level designer for about 2.5 years. And at first it felt really cool. Like, yeah, I finally did it. I won. I got the job, the dream job everybody kept talking about. But that was short-lived. And I don't know. It just didn't feel satisfying in the long run. Around grad school, I took video editing and I learned, hey, I really like video editing. So I just juggled between the two. I really liked them, but there was something missing.
What were you editing back then? Like
my first major video edit, I was playing Fall Guys a lot when it launched. I decided to make a meme video out of it because I love Team Fortress 2 and the game had a crossover collaboration with the Scouts, one of the classes from Team Fortress 2, into the game. So I thought, well, I would love to make a TF2 dub and add some memes. And it was a long video. It took a month to edit to do the whole thing. But people who watched it, they said, dude, I can tell that you're into gaming culture just from watching this. So I was like, that's great. I love that. That's all I would ask for.
And so what sort of skill did you have in video editing before? Like, you had passion projects and stuff. Did you already have the skills to jump into that? Or did you have to work on this like on the fly, figure it out?
With video editing specifically, honestly, I just started learning how to edit it on After Effects and Premiere Pro a couple of months before I started publishing my first project. Aired, scaled. I would video edit other people's materials for free. And then I started freelancing. That evolved into, hey, I do ads for mobile games, or I just do trailers, or I work on podcasts. It just branched out to a little bit of everything, anything involving gaming.
Where did the level designs come in? How did you know level design is what you wanted to do?
That's a good question. That wasn't the first thing that came to mind. I just wanted to design stuff in games. The first iteration, it wasn't specifically towards level design. However, that desire evolved as well when I just started playing more games. And one game that came to mind is BioShock, where they have ambient storytelling. They show you, it tells a story without saying any words, and you will come up with your own conclusion.
Is that the theme or genre that you sort of look at, or is that just what sort of captured it and then you're kind of, branching out? So like, what are you designing now? Like, what is on the horizon and current as far as you designing and stuff?
At the moment, I am doing level design work for a platformer similar to A Hat in Time, and and there's a website for this. This is public information, but this is a project called Bonobo Jack. It's you just play as a undead pirate who has a lineage or family history, and the plot is kind of like the first Sly Cooper game. So it's basically that you mix Sly Cooper and A Hat in Time together. I love platformers. That's why I was attracted to this project, especially like the Sony ones in the 2000s and 90s by extension.
Yeah, but I can dig that, the Sly Cooper vibe. I hadn't played that in a long time. Sly Cooper, A Hat in Time too. That's cool. And then the business development, you said that came last. What does that mean to you?
I started networking. It all started as I just started networking in starting GDC 2024. I was still creative then, trying to find my way. Even though I broke into the industry professionally. I got my dream job. I felt kind of aimless still. Then Black Myth Wukong came out last year, basically lit a fire in my heart. It brought to life everything I grew up on. I was into East Asian materials. I was thinking, okay, I got to do something about this. That led me to getting a costume, the Monkey King, and I decided I'm just going to wear this at the conference. I didn't really have anything in mind except hopefully attract the right people, and I did.
Yeah.
I had a lot of positive reception as a result, and some people invited me to to come over to their neighborhood in East Asia to network. So I did. I expected to expand my network. My takeaways: I enjoyed connecting bridges and gaps between East and West, and that's sort of I want to do with my life. So I think business development was the intended outlet to execute that goal.
How do these paths connect for you? Like, obviously you said that's what you want to do, but you kind of also said that like you weren't sure at the same time. So you're still trying to figure out what you want to do. How do you know, what is that thought process like?
Back in 2024, up until 2024 or early 2025, I still felt directionless. Like I didn't know what I was living for. But after GDC 2025, where I dressed up, and then after the East Asian trip, well, now I actually found a grander purpose to bridge East and West. And that's something I would like to dedicate my life to regardless. So that's something I never really had before. I didn't have something compelling me to live for more than myself.
Yeah. Do you have any like thoughts of wanting to move to out to East Asia? If you're trying to bridge the gap, obviously, I'm sure you would want to visit or at least partake in some of the stuff going on there.
I think I have it mostly figured out, but you are correct. You have to at least go visit back and forth. That is the deal that you have to abide by with bridging East and West. Like with East Asian connections, you have to keep interacting with people repeatedly over time. It's not a one and done deal. I would say I have definitely some good business partners as a result of like us hanging around in China, Japan, and Korea. Some of them went to all three countries during my trip. So it's basically mandatory for you to spend as much time as you can with your business partners over there. Whatever applies here in the West has more weight and consequence over there. It's faith. It's all about faith. So if you are really chummy with someone over there, a lot of people will take you much more seriously in East Asia. But if you have fallen out of favor or you lose face, that is considerably more damning over there than here.
I want to be a digital nomad, work on the fly. That's my goal for 2026 to plan my Thailand trip. I've been trying to get to Thailand forever. I'm trying to get to Asia. That's definitely a place I've wanted to go for a long time. What is it about, like, because you said you've been kind of interested in some of the things since, you were younger. So, like, what are some of the things that you've been really intrigued by Asia and things over there?
The hook for me was how romanticizing some of their media, such as literature, poetry, like the classic Chinese novels, Journey to the West, for example. That story was a very embellished version of a real life monk's journey to India a century earlier to retrieve scriptures. But anyway, yeah, I was enamored with that. But then that was basically the gateway to learning more of the iceberg, especially with Chinese. There's about 4,000 to 5,000 years of history and cultural values, and that also would extend to stuff like Taoism. That's their religion, and then Buddhism. That's Indian, but it introduces a whole new world of thinking. Even though Buddhism was foreign, people in China were fine with mixing elements of both Taoism and Buddhism together to create a balance where there's not really much extremes. For example, I guess is like with Taoists, they say, go with the flow, don't go against it. It will make your life easier, better for it. And you also expend less chi or energy as a result. And then Buddhism, it's saying, yeah, you just try to encompass more compassion. So why not mix the best of both worlds? Go with the flow while helping people. It feels natural, less like an obstacle. The takeaway is people focus on adaptability and harmony. It helps with promoting longevity and better health as a result, mentally and physically. So I think that's something that's better speaks to me. It's very pragmatic.
I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but what's like front of mind now as far as work for you?
So besides that level design bit I mentioned with the platformer, and also doing video editing for the YouTuber at the moment, but it's discreet right now. I'll promote that later when we get things going. It's a new thing. But other than that, I just been doing business development in my free time, just trying to follow up, facilitates connections and deals, whatnot. Like as a business developer, I'm just trying. I'm really trying to help developers find investors in publishing. So, for example, at MDev, I was scouting for a few games, and and also MIGs right afterwards, I was scouting for a few games. And now I'm trying to help them pitch their games to my publisher connections in East Asia, mainly in China, some Japanese and Korean.
That's pretty cool. What would you say is like the negative to trying to do, because obviously we kind of talked about like that distance and stuff, but like how difficult is it actually for you to facilitate that, not being able to just pick up and go to East Asia every day?
When interacting with East Asian connections, especially Chinese, how do I say this? I would say the interactions rely more on quality rather than quantity. So, you definitely want to stay in touch, but it's just, and I would say this extends to just connections in general. You can still keep in touch with people with a light message every few weeks. I try to message my connections with substance, something meaningful. So I think that takes some of the weight off with trying to maintain relationships. Like, yeah, it's not that high maintenance while you're waiting in between. It gets more serious when you're in person.
Right. And so speaking of MDev, obviously, met you at MDev. So like, how was MDev for you and what was your takeaway?
I've only been to MDev twice. First last year and this year. I can very much attest. There's a lot of people who can better attest, but I will say personally that they definitely stepped up their game, plus or minus some budget cuts, but hey, the budget's got to go somewhere. And I am actually happy to see, for the most part, where the direction's going, because now it seems like there is no more international recognition being demonstrated here as a result. So I'm not sure if I told you, but I met a few people from far away. I mean, first off, there was a guy I met who came all the way from Alaska. Okay, there's that. But then there's another guy who came all the way from Peru to speak at the event. And then there was a game developer from Poland. It's crazy. But I think that is important and don't get me wrong, those people, they had a great time there, especially the guy from Peru. He says he felt a lot of great positive energy and vibes. So I think that's very important, that word of mouth, for more people from around the world to come over. I would love to incentivize some of my connections to come around here someday when the time's right.
Anything that you're working on that you want people to, if people want to try to find your work and anything like that, how can people find you and reach out?
Oh boy. I mean, I'd probably just say go to LinkedIn. That's my strongest hub, where you can find my portfolio, websites, and social media. I also have a Linktree. That actually is probably better.
Okay.
Shameless plug-in.
Go ahead.
I am planning to go to more events around North America and East Asia next year. I have 3 signed partnerships with different companies. One's a co-development with AAA. The second is real-time feedback where you pay less for more data for your products. And then the third one is a consultancy agency where they will give you access to a broader network of companies that might be compatible with your needs as a developer or publisher. So I would probably want to make a post about that sometime in the near future saying, hey, I'm going to be going to these events with these partnerships in mind. If that suits your needs, I'd be happy to talk about it.
That'd be cool.